Alright, well hello everybody, my name is TempestMask1000, and for the first time ever I'm going to be closing a marathon. How about that? I'd like to thank Insta for having me back. For those who don't know, I was playing, I believe it was Shovel Knight Showdown the last time I was here at an InstaSpeedathon. So this time I'm going to bring you one of my favorite gaming franchises in Mega Man, this time Mega Man 6, the final of the NES classic games. So, with all due hope, I won't die as much because that tends to sometimes be a thing. So you'll definitely see me do some safeties, like getting some E-tanks and whatnot through the levels. But otherwise, I hope you all enjoy the run, because this is definitely a fun game to do. So first off, I'm just going to quickly reset. If I could just find the button for that. There we go. Alright, cool. So, this is going to be any percent, meaning that I'm just going to try and beat the game as fast as I can. 100% is its own category here, but it's just a couple of things that you collect. It's not a lot. So therefore, it's a definitely interesting category that I got to try at some point soon. But for now, let's rock and roll. I'm ready whenever you are, Insta.
Yep, so whenever you're ready, give us a countdown and we'll start the timer.
Alright, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rock on. Here we go. So we'll start with Wind Man, because Wind First is one of the most common things that most runners will go for. Otherwise, there are a couple of first paths that you can take in Flame Man and Nightman. I usually go with this one because it's the one that I learned myself when I picked up the game about a year ago from now. So it's definitely the one that I'm most familiar with. Wind Man is a pretty particular robot where the stage itself and the boss fight can be pretty simple to go with, but there are some things in the stage that can be a bit tricky to get past, like these cannons. Luckily that first one did not get me, which is usually a good sign. Here's the Improv Room, or at least that's what I believe we call this room. So I'm just going to take care of that first one. The second one's down, and there we go. I'm just going to let myself float a bit, because the thing about that gap is, of course, it's an instant death pit, and usually those cannons have a tendency to knock me down mid-flight as I use those fans to get me across. That's one of the gimmicks here in Windman's stage. It's very simple altogether. It's not like there's a lot of these things. Overall, just definitely a beginner-friendly one in my opinion. Now, I did take a bit of damage, and I am going to collect this safety life and health right here, something I don't usually do these days, but I also did it within my previous run of this game yesterday, so I'm going to do it again.
Guys, we have technical difficulties at the moment. Tempest Mask has disconnected for some reason. We'll try and get him back as soon as we can. Fine, don't worry. Alright, do you want to restart, or are you okay to go?
I'll restart just for the heck of it. Only this time, let's see here.
Okay, so you're back online on my side, so whenever you're ready, give us a countdown again and we'll start.
I'm just going to quickly change the bit rate so that that doesn't happen again.
That's probably a good idea.
Although
Sorry about,
yeah, I don't know. Well,
Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody. These things can happen to the best of us.
Yeah, it certainly can. This is definitely a first for me, though. Not too happy about that one, but I'll make it work. Dang it. Okay, let's just hope that doesn't happen again. Okay. All right. So, okay, I'm ready to. Let's just restart that one. All right. Let's hope for the best that that doesn't happen again. I do apologize for that, y'all. I was using a wired network and it's still connected that way. I just hope that that won't happen again. If it does, we'll just keep playing with fire, see what happens. Of course, that will probably invalidate this run. But honestly, as long as we can get to the end of the show, that's more than fine with me. So with that said, Let's try this again, and we'll start or restart in 3, 2, 1, rock on. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, we start with Windman. This is probably one of the most beginner-friendly stages that you can get with Mega Man 6. There are other ways to start the game too, though, with going to Flameman first or Nightman. Either way is totally fine. One of the nice things about this game is that you can find a practice ROM hack of Mega Man 6 that has you basically play accordingly as if you were doing these different routes. You can change them by pressing select on the stage select screen. Otherwise, yeah. Okay, so the first cannon definitely got me there, and that's always a good sign. I guess this is the run trying to get back at me, the game trying to get back at me for having crushed it the first time, but no problem. We'll just press on here. So back to Improv Room we go. There goes the first cannon. Down goes the second, but another one just respawned. That's never happened before. And I died. Wonderful. Okay, no problem. Let's keep going here. So, welcome back to Windman. This was beginner-friendly for me at first. Nah, but for real, this is still probably my preferred first route because it definitely has one of the simplest ways to start the game, in that taking on Windman himself and the boss fight itself isn't all that bad. It's just a matter of trying to get from beginning to end, using his weapon, and then we go in that weakness order. And it's a pretty simple weapon to use, so I'll talk more about that when we get there. For now, though, I just gotta clear the Improv Room again by destroying this other cannon. Hopefully this time it will be a little better. There we go. And I just gotta avoid the Gabriols or something like that, because oh man, spike ceiling. I guess the game was trying to punish me for butchering that enemy's name, so now I'm just not gonna bother. But anyway, welcome back to Windman again. This stage still can be beginner friendly. It just has a way of teasing you and stuff like that. Hey! I see my pal Irish Ian in the chat though. Thank you so much for being here, my dude. I definitely appreciate that. And also big shout out to Osmorn, great runner and great person that I'm seeing at a lot of marathons too. You rock, dude. Alright, here we go. So, now I'm just going to clear this. So as I was mentioning in the first attempt, the fans are the basic gimmick of Windman's stage. You also have these flipping platforms, though, that I didn't mention, and jumping on them causes them to go to the other side. We will see these a little later in Mr. X1, but for now, the idea behind this is that we need to clear the 8 robot masters in different locations around the world, and then we gain access to Mr. X's tower. Let's talk about this story, because how this goes is after Mega Man 5, the first of an annual World Robot Tournament is happening, and Mr. X is the organizer. However, when the competitors start to act up, it's revealed that Mr. X is actually behind the whole thing. So upon confronting him, Mega Man asking why he's doing this, he reveals that it turns out he was pulling Dr. Wily's strings this whole time. And so now he wants to take a crack at ruling the world, and so it's up to us to put an end to that plot. Mr. X sure seems a bit mysterious, though, if you ask me, but nevertheless, he is our bad guy, and we will do what we can to put an end to his hijinks. So as such, Mega Man is going around these different parts of the world to take on the Robot Masters, and here we have Windman. So how this fight works is I'm using the charge shot to get him, and also making use of maneuvering around this room because he simply just fires those 2 fans like you just saw there a few times. Otherwise, he tries to pull me in with his shoulder fans, and then that's pretty much him just floating around and stuff, and that's the fight. Pretty simple, definitely a very decent fight overall, and with that, we get his weapon, the Windstorm. Now this is a projectile weapon that shoots out of Mega's Buster, but then jumps onto the floor and then travels through it. The fun thing about this thing, though, is that when it defeats an enemy, instead of destroying it, it just sweeps them past the ceiling, and it's probably one of the most hilarious defeat animations you could probably find in a Mega Man classic 8-bit game, in my honest opinion. Second, of course, to, I believe it was Nitro Man in Mega Man 10, where you can defeat the buses by freezing them, and then it causes one to crash into another. which is not really something you normally say, but it's robot buses and they're going haywire, and they're trying to kill Mega Man. So fair is fair in the case of the enemies rule, because, you know, you never like it when automatic transportation tries to kill you. But in this case, we're not going to see that here because there are no highway stages. That's a bit more related to Mega Man X, as you all know. Here's Mega Man 6, although this game did come out along the, a little bit like after Mega Man X, if I'm not mistaken. So therefore, a lot of people were probably wondering why Capcom decided to go for this. At the time, this was the final battle between Mega Man in the classic era, at the very least, before Mega Man 7 did get greenlit and developed for the Super Nintendo. As such, the idea here is that this would have been the conclusion to Mega Man 6 if we didn't get the other games, which is totally fine that we did, because I absolutely love them. Mega Man 8 is definitely underrated in my opinion, even if it's not the best voiced in English. Still, we all remember it for the memes and the dreams, so it's all good. But here we have Flame Man. I'm going to collect this E-Tank right here because it's one of the safeties that I usually go for, and it's a very easy one to grab. We're just going to take care of these enemies, and you'll notice that with the oil pits on the floor, the idea is that when they get hit by a fire attack, they ignite, and they turn from a safe area that normally slows down Mega Man into an instant death flame trap. So I did good to avoid all of them, and now we're going to switch to Windstorm. So now, the idea is to dodge Flame Man's fire waves and just try to not die from him. Simple as that. So Insta, if you got anything you'd like to say at the moment, now's a good time.
We do have a new donation in, actually, from Osborne, £11. Comment is, yo, Tempest, how you living?
Hey, Oz, how you living, my dude? Thank you very much for donating. It's always good to see you, man. Hey, that's my dude Nox in the chat as well. Great to see you, dude. Got a lot of familiar faces coming in today. I love to see it. It's been a while, man. It's been a while. Alright, moving on to Blizzard Man. So now with the Flame Wave, this, as you just saw with the weapon demonstration, the idea is that the fire shot arcs, and then it turns into that little fiery wave that you saw Flame Man do in the boss fight when it hits the ground. So the idea here is I'm going to also use it as a bit of a normal means of attacking in the second half of the stage. Otherwise, I'm just going to stick to the Buster for now. And so the idea here is to try and clear the ice physics section, because as you all know, Blizzard Man is an ice robot, so of course, obligatory ice physics stage. But this one is quite alright. It just has a few things about it that, ooh, I got an extra life from that robot, nice. Make it a bit intriguing, we'll say. You'll see that soon, but for now, let's just clear these guys, jump up, and go under the shield defenders, who are also giving me a very rough time, holy heck. Alright, no problem. I believe, nope, it's not Eddie. Well, I'll talk a bit more about Eddie when we actually see him for the first time. For now, though, those squid robots, I normally either try to kill them or take a damage boost. Most people will probably take a damage boost. Anyway, say hello to the giant submarine. This is part of the second half of the level, and so one thing we usually try to do is clear this thing as fast as we can within one or maybe just a couple of certain cycles. Now, I've never pulled this one off, but if you get it within the one fluid cycle, that's what we like to call butter. So at best, I'm probably just expired butter at the moment, but I only count it for that very end portion where I'm just trying to slide past the higher spike section, so there you go. Now, I'm at 1 point of health left. I am going to take a safety death because we did get a generous extra life from that robot instead of wasting my E-Tank, because I would very much like to save that for later. And with that, here we go. Let's die to Blizzard Man. He chooses to roll, and we go to the bakery today. Okay, so no problem there. That's actually perfectly fine, because this could mean that he might not decide to roll for this round too. And so, I mean, if you want to call it that, because I did say I was taking a safety death. But here we go. Yep, so he's starting with his blizzard attack. And then... Ooh, this could be... so you thought. Well, we got 2 rolls today, and your final price will be $6. I thought I was going rollless today, but the game said...
Nope.
So there you go. But yes, as Insta was mentioning in the chat, I am, for those who don't know, a previous InstaSpeedathon runner, having done a Shovel Knight Showdown, and I did happen to have the Shovel Knight King of Cards runner, Young Zorn, as my commentary, so that was pretty fun. And it's nice to be back, hoping that we definitely make quite a bit of money to help all sorts of gamers with all sorts of special needs get their means to play, because if y'all love games, then y'all deserve to play. I am a firm believer of that one. So with that said, we move on to Plant Man. Now this is the portion of the game that usually scares me, and for good reason. Plant Man has a bit of an interesting second half to the stage. You'll find out soon enough what I mean. Until then though, we just cross across these grasshopper robots. We got more of those little cam-like drone things that we saw in Blizzard Man stage, and that right there was Eddie. So, as you all know, Eddie usually gives you a random item drop, whether it be a health recovery, weapon recovery, extra life, or an E-tank. And as one of the safety measures I also take with this game, sometimes I do make sure that I get the pickup from Eddie, just to see what it's all about. It does waste a little bit of time consequentially, but y'all know how it is. Sometimes you gotta just play and avoid the death where it counts. But here we have the second of the gorilla robots here on treads. These guys, as you see, just come a bit closer to Mega Man and they shoot these pellets. Nothing to it though. I just use the Flame Man weapon to basically mash a bit and try to clear them out as fast as I can. Now it's at this point that I'll switch back to the Mega Buster here, and I'll open up these plant platforms to try and come across them. You can, however, jump on them when they're closed. It's a little precise, though. It's like a particular portion of its collision box, and even then you have to keep jumping, otherwise you will fall through it. So I do open it up because I haven't quite mastered that trick just yet. Otherwise, this is the source of my usual concerns for Plant Man, the robotic fish, or piranhas, that like to jump up the water and out to bite ya. They respawn too, even after you defeat one, so yeah. Now you can probably see why I do get a little concerned with these fellas here, to put it lightly. So here we have Plant Man, and I'm going to use Blizzard Man's weapon because instead of the ice robot beating the fire robot, now we have the fire robot beating the ice robot, and the ice robot freezing the plant, which means we get to go do a little bit of winter ice-cold weeding today. But with Plant Man's plant barrier, I gotta be careful of that because he is completely invulnerable during that. So of course, gotta be very careful here. Otherwise, just jump over him, take him down, and as you notice with the blizzard attack, the way that works is you spawn 4 ice crystals that go behind Mega Man and then come spread out. So now we're going to get the plant barrier for ourselves, and with that we will move on to Tomahawk Man. And with that, I will once again open up the floor to Insta, while I also get a little hydration in.
Well, we have no new donations in, but it's a good time to let people know that if you do want to donate, then please do so by going to the link. I will be posting it in the chat just now, actually, as well. But it's also underneath in the panels below the stream. If you go to that link, you can donate to the charity. The charity we're supporting is EveryoneCan. Let's get those £200 donated before the end of the marathon. If we can, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I'll post a link in the chat for you guys. If anyone wants to go and donate, please do so, because it really helps, and EveryoneCan are a fantastic charity.
Absolutely, I very much support the work they do. So with that said, let's go on to Tomahawk Man. Then we get the first of our Met dispensers. You know how Mega Man likes its Mets, and this time they're completely trying to throw them one at a time at us like a gashapon, but nope. We just blast through them with fire because in the wonderful words of Mr. Cab 55, In Mega Man 6, you're pretty much going to kill everything with fire. And it's a wonderful thing, so shout out to Mr. Cab. Definitely a wonderful Mega Man and classic game runner. Otherwise, I'd like to point out that this sunset background is probably one of my favorites in the game. Definitely one of the nicest things to look at. And also it kind of sort of connects with me because I've, ever since spending a lot of time at home as the world has been trying to move on with the pandemic, have been taking up the hobby of taking sunset photos personally or just posting them on social media. It's been it's always super nice to look at a sunset at the end of the day. It's just one of the nicest things that nature has to give itself and stuff. So I definitely appreciate what we have going on here. Anyway, I'm going to go past that cracked block right there. So you might have noticed in the menu that we picked up what's called the Rush Power Adapter. And in that, what it basically lets us do is Rush in this game, instead of using his body as like tools for Mega to use, instead turns into armor. And as such, we have 2 armors. I'm just going to take another safety death, by the way, because I'm at low health once again, and this fight does like to be a bit precise with the ammo. So, one sec. There you go. So we have 2 armors, the POW adapter and the Jet adapter, which we recently got from Plant Man, which is going to be our main method of flight. Otherwise, the POW adapter serves as a short-ranged punch attack that when fully charged can destroy those blocks. And in 100%, you want to do that because there you get a cameo from Proto Man, the one and only cameo from him in this game. And our big bro gives us the energy balancer, something that namely appeared first in the Game Boy games, but also makes its debut here in Mega Man 6. And it's a really cool thing, because for those who don't know, whenever you collect it, any weapon refills you get will automatically transfer to the weapon with the lowest amount of ammo, because how it works is it can do so no matter whether you are base Mega Man or just using a different weapon. As long as that weapon's ammo is full and you collect another pickup, it'll go to the weapon that needs it most, and it's a really cool thing. But anyway, we're now moving on to Yamato Man, and it's here that I usually take the alternative route, whereas everyone else usually goes for the top. I like to show this off because A, it gives me another E-tank to use in case I need it later, and also, it has a... Ooh, that was a very unfortunate drop there. I never usually fail that pit. That's never happened before. At least I don't think it has. Anyway, I'm just going to switch to the POW adapter, and for the first time we'll get to see it break something, so punch, and we move on. I'm still going to keep it, though, because we have another one to break, and especially with this enemy here twirling its spear and trying to toss it at us. But luckily we get a health pickup, so that's not too bad. I get to recover the health that I lost from that mandatory contact damage. It's really not mandatory, but you know, simpler for me to do at least. So here we have the boss. It's just a ninja riding atop a giant robotic frog. The way to defeat it is to hit the eyes of the giant robotic frog. It's gone. Now we don't have to worry about it anymore. And I'm going to switch to the POW armor again to break this block. And then, bam. E-tank is ours. Now there is a song that I vaguely remember associated with Yamato Man's stage here. I just don't remember the lyrics. But I just figured I'd acknowledge that. There is a song that I'll be doing a little bit, though, that Mr. Cab usually does in Centaur Man's stage later on, so just a little something for that. Anyway, we see the debut in this run of the Jet armor. We saw it for the first time just getting equipped to Mega Man, and now I can basically use a jetpack jump to get from one platform to the next, which is especially sweet. So now there's that, but this armor does not have a charge shot. I can only fire normal pellets. And also, both armors do not allow you to slide, so that's a definite drawback that makes them objectively slower, but they're still used because there are some sections that would require them, especially more so for the Jet, but that's not until the late game. Anyway, here's Yamato Man. So how he works is he just shoots the spear tips, and he'll also shoot a single spear tip, which he then runs over to collect himself, thus making him an easy target on the ground as he does that. And the Silver Tomahawk, the Tomahawk Man weapon, is his weakness, which just makes him very, very simple to get because it's a curving weapon. And it's also pretty strong, too, as tomahawks would. So basically, glorified axe throwing. Shout out to all you axe throwing aficionados out there, or fans, whichever works. But anyway, we got the Yamato Spear and Beat E parts, so allow me to explain that one. See, like in Mega Man 5, where Dr. Cossack created a helper robot for Mega Man to get if he spells out the word Mega Man 5 with all these letters in the Robot Master stages. In this game, you collect 4 Beat letters in order to get Beat the Robotic Bird as your extra weapon, which is the other requirement for 100%. So in this game, you only really need to collect 5 things, which is pretty nice and all, but the sad news is that Beat, as compared to Mega Man 5, isn't as useful here, hence why one of my friends, Conster, usually says useless bird when describing Beat in this game. But still, you love him, you love to see him, and that's why Beat is the bird. Bird is the word. Alright, here we go. So that's a spiked ceiling, of course, and that is an instant death trap, no doubt about it, so I just try to slide under it as fast as I can. I think there's a way to do it while that cycle, when you enter the room, is still going. I just don't know how to do it effectively. Otherwise, I just wait for that cycle to happen, and then I just go in, keep sliding through so that I eventually get past it, and nice, I managed to avoid taking damage from that enemy, otherwise it would have certainly knocked me off the ladder. Back to Jet, we fly up here, and you actually can, as you're about to see, jump off the ladder, hold the jump button to keep flying, and then that's basically a very quick way to get up a ladder. But you have to climb back on it. You have to hold up to cling back and stuff. Oh, that was close. That was pretty close. So, another thing about Rush Jet Adapter is that you can only fly up to a particular height. It's a bit of a fixed height increase, if you will. Although I do believe it is possible to sort of remove that fixed height if you stop hovering for a bit and then just hover back again. But anyway, here come the Mad Nerds, and these guys hate it when I destroy their graduation hats. Therefore, one more hit is what it takes to get rid of them. Otherwise, they'll just get angry, charge at me. It's not fun. But at least it is a fun enemy to see, and big shout out to any % world record holder Papat.1, whose avatar usually is a Mad Nerd. It's a pretty interesting design, I'll definitely say that. Anyway, here comes Nightman. I'll try to complete this without dying here. It's not the worst of fights, but at low health it can be a bit concerning because this guy does tend to jump around here and there all around the square, saying, "Catch me if you can." Otherwise, he's shooting his wrecking ball, the Night Crusher. Oh. I'm gonna do serious time for this one. Oh, that was close. With 1 peg of health, I could have easily died to that, but let's go. Let's heckin' go. Alright, so now we get his Night Crusher, and it's a very nice projectile weapon that sort of works like the Rolling Cutter or any boomerang-esque weapon, where it just sort of curves back at you. And I will be supposedly using that as we're going through X4. The nice thing about this run is that most weapons do get at least a second usage during the stage, or they can be used if that's more your strategy. It's very adaptable. Otherwise, when it comes to this final Robot Master and Centaur Man, I only really try to save his weapon for when we get to the boss rush. And you'll see why that is, but also it's probably good for the eyes too, because it's a screen nuke weapon. We'll talk a bit more about that though, because here comes the stage, and here's that little ditty I was talking about. Centaur Man, Centaur Man, Centaur Man, Centaur Man, Centaur Man. And welcome one and all to Greece, aka the one obligatory water level. So we got water physics in here, no big deal. I'll just try not to die to the spikes by using Rush Jet Adapter, because that can be a nice way to sort of keep the jump height stable and stuff, but then I jump into a spike ceiling. Go figure. Game said
nope.
Again. Alright, well, no problem. We'll just keep going as if it's nobody's business. We still got quite a bit of time to do so. And speaking of time to do so, Insta, you got any good words to say, my dude?
I have all the words. I have the best words, but unfortunately they're not the words that you want to hear because we haven't got any new donations in. But I am going to plug in the donations and just say if anybody does want to donate, then please do so. I'm going to post the link in the chat once again for anybody who would like to donate. We are £39 away from £200, and if we can reach that by the end of the marathon, that would be absolutely fantastic. It all goes to EveryoneCan, a really good charity. They do so much work. They are absolutely incredible in what they do. They did actually invite us over to the gaming centre yesterday, so we were actually live from the gaming centre yesterday, and honestly, just seeing firsthand what they actually get up to there is absolutely incredible. Please do support them if you can, and every little helps, especially at times like this. They've honestly, during COVID, I know everybody's been quite, this COVID period has been quite daunting for everybody, hasn't it? So
yeah,
and especially for charities, and small charities in particular, like EveryoneCan, any help that you can give would be absolutely grateful. So please, if you can, please do put something towards the fundraiser.
Absolutely. Any help is much appreciated, even at minimum. Donation, absolutely appreciated nonetheless. And with that in mind, let's see what we can do here, because we got a little interesting situation coming up. It's not necessarily a bad thing per se, but I usually do try to get this jump by turning into Rush Jet, even if it may waste a little bit more time transitioning into that. But alright, cool, we made it. So the yesternight run that I did with Mega Man 6 here had it where I suddenly just fell through and just ended up in the bottom room, which is not a problem really, because the thing about these stages here is that in order to get the beat letters, you have to pick a certain boss door that lets you face the boss, and then defeating them will give you that letter. I do believe though that you can pick it up if you revisit the stage and re-enter that necessary boss door even after the boss in question is defeated. So it's not impossible to get it. I don't think you can lock yourself out of getting beat, but all the same, that's why we got the E parts in Yamato Man, because I picked that particular route. It's definitely a little bit faster from what I understand anyway. But I also just went for the upper door for Centaur Man simply because I could. And now we spell E.T. because we have to phone home to Mr. X. See what I did there? But enough joking around. We got the Mr. X tower coming up, and we start off with X1. Not Mega Man X1. That's for another day. But here we have the first portion, which basically involves these cannon fellas trying to shoot at us. You notice that every time they shoot, they then switch their angle, which then leaves them vulnerable to damage from the front, because otherwise that shield is pretty much protecting them. Very interesting enemy design, I gotta say. I'm not sure if that was well intended, or if it was just because sometimes you gotta think about the lore a bit, even when you don't have to. But nevertheless, I did have to use the Rush Jet to get across that gap, which otherwise would have been covered top to bottom with spikes and therefore would have led to an instant death scenario. But now I'll switch to POW suit because here we have a shortcut that requires the POWs. Ooh. Dang it. Well, I guess that's what I get for doing the terrible joke then. Oh well. Oh, but hey, I jumped over that enemy. That usually doesn't always happen. It's just because the hitbox for that fella is just big, that's all, but no problem. That's cool. Anyway, let's try this again. So, yeah, as you noticed with the shortcut I was trying to do, I had to charge a full POW punch in order to break that window and then essentially get us to the corridor where you have a bunch of extra items waiting for you. But we'll just switch here. We'll charge up. Let's see if I can get this jump. Ooh! Oh, well, that was close, but at least I didn't die that time. And the good news is that we did break the window, so now that's definitely there to stay. Or maybe unless I get a game over, which let's hope not, because I still gotta cross the spikes. So I'm gonna use Jet from here on. There we go. Okay, that wasn't too bad. But, you know, as this run has proven, anything can happen. And let's quickly talk about the usual stipulation for when you get into the late game of a classic Mega Man title. As some of you may know, the weapon ammo no longer recovers when starting a new stage, so X1 was definitely that cutoff point for that, meaning whatever weapons I use from here on, I'm going to have to use the weapon item refills to give me more ammo for them. Otherwise, when I start the next stage, the tank will be the same as it was before for that particular weapon. So let's enter the rounder fight, where this time I'm going to be using the Flame Man weapon and hopefully not have to waste too many shots, because this has a particular hitbox to the side of them. That's where the weak point is, and sometimes it can reflect just like that. Goodness, thank you for proving my point, game. That was almost a perfect fight there, I'd say. But one more shot, and there we go. So now we move on to X2, and this can be a relatively short stage. The idea, though, is I gotta be careful with trying to remember that not every piece of the floor is real, per se. There's a little yellow grating area on the floor that denotes when you'll fall through a piece of floor if you step on it, and that'll obviously be coming up right here. Now, luckily, this isn't too bad because this actually does give us some weapon refills, and you know what? For once, I'm actually gonna accept that gracious gift for Flame Man's weapon here, as I then waste more shots to get across there. But hey, it is what it is. You gotta use what you gotta use. Because those drill enemies sure can be annoying, I tell you. Luckily, they're not instant kill like the Napalm Man drills that come at you in that one section from Mega Man 5, so there you go. Anyway, here's another jet mandatory section. Switch to that. Oops. Alright. Jump over this. Go ahead and keep plowing through the enemies while also flying over. In my case, because I prefer this method, it's definitely a little safer for me. But of course, it is possible to just switch out and try and slide and get across as fast as you can. No sweat. So you know, that be that, and so forth. So let's keep going as we then reach the boss door and are about to enter the Power Piston fight. So this guy works a little interestingly, where he's going to be hanging onto the wall for the entire time, and he's going to try and either nail us with pellets, or he's going to cause rocks to fall down, and all we really need to do is just stand as left as possible, because standing to the left obviously means that most things aren't going to hit us, and also the Silver Tomahawk, being the effective weapon here, is going to arc up and take this thing down, chopping it up into scrap, like so. That could have admittedly been a better fight. I did waste a bit of ammo, so I'll make sure that I get some refills somewhere along the way for that, because Silver Tomahawk will come very much into handy in the final fight, but that's not for a while. But currently we are now on X3, and let's take a look at... Yeah, you know what, no, that's right. I totally went for that life the last time, but then I had to switch from base to POW and then charge that to break that block. It was not fast. I'm always thinking about being too safe here and there, and sometimes it just ends up causing to waste time, and you know, I sometimes forget this is a speed run, but what the heck. It is what it is. It is what it is. But here's X3, where Jet is probably going to be more than necessary, or rather, especially necessary. Ah, jeez, game. But yeah, as you saw right there, you got a bunch of robots that can knock you down, and the idea is that you have these platforms that when standing on one of them, it causes it to go down and the other one to climb up. And this is kinda a thing because, well, as you all know, the floor is not lava, it just leads you to an abyss. And we don't like that. Mega Man certainly doesn't. Roland, stop sniping me! We call that enemy Roland, or at least some of us do, I know Papat does. I don't recall this robot's particular name, but he likes to be a scumbag because he likes to snipe us down when we jump over him. Those arcing shots certainly don't help, but the interesting thing about Roland is that he also gets defeated by hitting him with a charge shot, be it the POW suit or the standard buster. And if he hits a floor, he just explodes. But as you saw with Flame Man's stage, having hit the oil pits allowed Roland to become the platform that we used to safely traverse across enough of those pits, especially when they became instant death fire traps. So, yeah, there are plenty of interesting enemies in Mega Man 6 for sure. Now, something I was going to mention that I didn't get the chance to give myself the chance to bring up is that sliding works a little differently in Mega Man 6 than other Mega Man games, in that trying to slide and cancel the thing with the jump button doesn't have Mega Man jump, but instead it just stops the momentum altogether. In other games, he usually just jumps out of the slide whenever you do that, so slide canceling in this game, the long and short of it is, it just works a bit differently. And I've always been curious as to why that is, because I would assume that this was made in the Mega Man 5 engine, but that might not be the case. You never know with Capcom. Either way, we now move on to Matonger Z, and actually I should have equipped the POW suit for that one, because that is one of the effective ways to deal with him, although I may use the Blizzard attack, because that is an effective Robot Master weakness on this guy. It's just a mech piloting a mecha suit. It's probably one of the coolest looking things, but I also do wish that the suit itself was actually using those arms to punch you, much like how I'm trying to punch this guy, but I'm also taking a lot of damage, hence why I feel this is a little more dangerous for me, because I haven't quite figured out how to do it without losing a lot of health, and therefore I did have to use my first E-tank of the run, but I'll continue to punch to this guy's demise, and there we go. Alright, coolio. But yeah, the long and short of it is Matonger Z either closes the gap or extends the distance between you and him, and then just shoots those energy shots at you. I'm not sure why the developers decided to give him arms if they weren't going to give it any functionality, but hey, you know how it is. Anyway, here's a good time to recover some Silver Tomahawk ammo with this pickup here. We're on X4, and we will be confronting Mr. X himself, but this is not going to be the final level. I want to let you all know that right now. We still got quite a bit more game left after this. So I'm just going to take care of this as Jet. Now, I was trying to get past that enemy without taking damage. It's okay if I have to damage boost, but the idea is you can go right enough that jumping through that gap actually can avoid you can avoid damage that way, is what I'm trying to get at here. Words are hard sometimes. Anyway, keep going here. And this is the introduction of a new enemy type, where, as you notice, there's these, like, robotic eggs floating out, and then these birds akin to the peepees from Mega Man 2 hatch and stuff. The difference is that the birds don't drop eggs that cause mini birds to come out. Rather, the birds come out and then try to home at you, and it's just a single bird each time. It can be quite annoying. Just like this section. So we're at a checkpoint now, but this could easily get messy here because the cowboy robots, they try to snipe you down, and I'm trying to use the Night Crusher to dispatch them. Otherwise, I normally try to jump over them with Jet because that's usually a preferred thing for me. But hey, that was a bit more effective. I just wish I could have made that a little more seamless if possible. But no problem there regardless. That's one more E-tank. I'm looking a little low on health, so I'll use it now. And then I'll switch back to Jet to make this a little less risky. And as we go on to the Mr. X fight, I have two ways of dealing with his giant wrecking ball, because Mr. X is about to come in like a wrecking ball, so we say no, no, no to the crush, 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 by either using the Flame Man weapon, or we just punch him. And this is the cool part, because I didn't get to show this off, but the charge shot of the POW suit, ooh, I did an early charge on the way in, basically punches back bosses, and this is no different. In fact, it's as if this was totally made for this here. But I gotta be careful of the drop shots and the contact damage I can take, and that's another E-tank, unfortunately, I have to waste. So for the rest of the fight, I will resort to the Flame Blast. No problem, though, because that should be one more shot, and he's done. And now for one of my favorite typos in NES game history. My scheme for world domination has failed-y! Chad, if you could get failed-y going, that'd be great. But it turns out that Mr. X was Dr. Wily this whole time! Oh no! Oh man. Too bad, because I actually would have liked it if Mr. X was indeed his own person. Which, fun fact, the Archie comics for Mega Man actually did have going, although it was a character that was also previously established in that continuity. Sadly, the comic is either canceled or an indefinite hiatus, which is always unfortunate. But Archie, if you're ever listening and do have the thought to maybe try and continue what you were going with Archie Mega Man, I would absolutely appreciate it, because big shout out to that comic adaptation. It's probably one of my favorite things to read, without a doubt. Anyway, we now have moved on to Dr. Wily's castle, and I dropped into spikes.
Nope.
Welp, that happened. No problem though. I'll just break one of these blocks using the POW suit, because there are some items hidden behind one of them. So that should give me my extra life that I had just lost, like that. And so I'm going to give myself a bit more serious time to try that again. So Insta, feel free to come on and say anything you'd like to.
It'll be my pleasure, although again we don't have any new donations since the last time. So for anyone who does want to donate, please do so. I'll post the link again in the chat. But yeah, it all goes towards EveryoneCan. They really do a lot of work. They're a fantastic charity. They help disabled people play games with assistive technologies, and they also do assessments at their centre as well. So yeah, they do quite a lot of work, and honestly, any amount that anyone can donate will really help. I would like if we could get to £200 before the end of the marathon. We're not far from the end now. We're about 9 minutes based on the estimate left of this run, and then we've got a little bit of announcement to say. So anything that can happen before the end of the announcement would be absolutely appreciated, and I can announce it on stream. But yeah, hopefully we can get to the £200 donated before the end of the marathon.
And if not, I still definitely gotta give props to everybody that donated during the marathon regardless, considering, again, I feel we've picked a very wonderful cause to be supporting for this InstaSpeedathon. So, big shout out to EveryoneCan for doing what they do. Thank you so much. With that...
Absolutely, as well as just a huge thank you to everybody who has donated so far as well.
Indeed.
The £161 donated so far is incredible.
Absolutely. So now we've moved past, and I did manage to complete a nice little thing where, using the jet suit, I was able to hover all the way over to the right on that last drop of spikes there to avoid having to do more of them, and I got some nice recovery items along the way. But here we have Mechazaurus, and this is probably one of the more annoying bosses, especially considering that the weakness is the Yamato Spear, and it's a straightforward shot, which is fine. The problem is the hitbox. The eyes are the hitbox, and even then it likes to be very particular. So sometimes this guy can go down a little less fast and whatnot, and it all depends on if you can manage to get those accurate shots, as accurate as you can possibly be. And luckily we did A-okay with that, so we're moving on. One funny thing about that guy, though, is that you can use the POW suit's charge shot to punch the platforms back at it, and it's absolutely wonderful. Only problem is it does 1 point of damage every time you do that, so it's not really worth your time, but still a fun little thing to do casually for sure. So now we move on to Wily 2. We got some more ice physics here, but don't worry, that won't last for too long. Otherwise, this is probably, or I can probably easily say, the easy stage of the game. It still has some things that try to kill you, sure. And it also just so happens to be the only portion of the game that uses the Yoku blocks, of all things. But still, less Yoku blocks, it makes us a happy camper, because we can just get past it like that. I do believe the room above, if I did go that other way, would have had more, which isn't a problem per se, because again, very little Yoku blocks used except for that one. And also, technically I'd call it a Yoku block wall, which I do think Mega Man 5 did do prior, but yeah, you know, nice little things like that. I'm gonna refill the Night Crusher, and there is another item refill that I can get down here, so I'll also do that too. Just a sec. Oops, that was almost too early. A little another factoid about the gameplay that you might have noticed is that, like Mega Man 5, the charge shot can get interrupted if Mega Man takes any kind of damage while charging up. So definitely be careful with that if you're trying to keep a constant charge going and you want to use it effectively for the boss, because you'll have to just charge again, and it can take a little while, but it's not the worst thing, so you know how it is. Especially considering that while the Buster might not be as powerful as it was in 5, it's still pretty effective. I know this because it certainly helped us with Windman. And speaking of Windman, we're using his weapon again to take out this tank, which really just tries to go back and forth, shoot pellets, and then these cannonballs, which you could probably assume look like bubbles because the black background of the room makes the cannonball color almost seem maybe transparent, but really I just think of them as cannonballs because why would a tank shoot bubbles? They don't. It's too silly. Unless those are bubble leads. But Bubble Man certainly hasn't made a reappearance in this game now, has he? Oops. Okay, so let's try not to get hit by that fan too much. So here we have Wily 3, and this is where the boss refights will happen. So the first part of the stage comes up where you have these fans trying to draw you in, and this can be bad because, as you noticed, we got all sorts of spikes around the walls and stuff, and I'm just trying to pick up these items in peace. Come on, game, throw me a bone here. Oh, geez, I'm gonna have to crack one right now. Unfortunate, but you know how it is. Still, I'll just fly around. I should have enough weapon ammo to deal with the robot masters, but yes, first things first, we gotta get to them, and so we gotta get past here. And I do believe that's it for all the water physics in this game, so no more need to worry about going for a swim here. And we'll just get up here. There's the teleporter that'll take us to the boss refight chamber. And with that, let's take on all of the 8 robot masters again. I'm going to start with Centaur Flash and go to Airman first. There's a bit of a flashing warning that I'd like to invoke because this screen nuke weapon does involve flashing of the screen, which is something that Centaur Man himself does, but yeah, here we go. And that's it. So, flashing warning over, and yeah, so as you just might have seen with Windman there, it basically works a whole lot similar to when you're using the gravity hold against Gyro Man in Mega Man 5, when you have the weakness. Back to Tomahawk Man. So, I mentioned something that I didn't get to fully explain with the fight earlier, and that was the plant barrier has just as much ammo to take care of Tomahawk Man, but it's very precise in the fact that if I miss once, I won't have enough ammo for the rest of the fight. And this can be a problem because the plant barrier can dispel upon getting hit by an enemy using iframes. So just a little something to be careful with that can make Tomahawk Man a bit more challenging. Of course, if that were to happen, I just switch to the POW suit as the alternative here. So here's Flame Man. The fight's the same here, not too much else. And just like with most boss refights, they do drop health when they are defeated. So I just gotta pick that up in order to teleport out, and here comes Blizzard Man. How many rolls today? Let's find out. Hopefully none. Okay. So far he's just skiing, and... oh, there's 1. 2. 3. 3 rolls today, your final total is $9. Thank you, sir. And now we go back to Centaur Man. So one thing that I also didn't get the chance to explain with this fight is that Centaur Man can't jump. He instead goes from one side of the screen to the next, and he does warp. Warping and flashing the screen is also bad because when he flashes the screen, I freeze in place, I can't move, and then he just tries to shoot a spread shot that chances are it'll hit me. It doesn't do a lot of damage, so therefore it's just more annoying than dangerous. Back to Nightman we go, though. Yamato spear it up. And down he goes. That only leaves us with Plant Man and then Yamato Man, so back to Blizzard attack. Now, when he does use the plant barrier, Plant Man is normally invulnerable, but I have figured him out enough that there is a way I can get at least 2 hits in when he's walking. It's just a matter of trying to get it to work, just like that, right there. Because sometimes I'm just a little too close to him that he'll, something like that'll happen, I guess. Except it more involves him using it, not the plant barrier coming at me, but... Yep, Yamato Man left, and then we have one more stage after that. So, Insta, I'll give you the floor one last time.
Okay, no, oh wait, we do have a new donation.
Hey, let's go.
So we'll do this very quickly. DVD01, $39. Since my final boss saved money on not spawning me any health pickups whatsoever, he decides to put that money towards this great cause. Stay awesome, everybody, and that puts us up to £200. So thank you very much for that DVD.
Let's go!
Thank you to everybody for the donation. We've reached £200.
Woo!
Let's get just a little bit more before the end of the marathon. Let's see what we can get to as a final total. But thank you all so much for the kind donations. And now we're gonna go and end this Mega Man 6 run with Tempest Max.
Heck yeah! Thank you so much. That's incredible. Awesome. I'm so glad we got that goal. Alright. So now we're going to handle one more Met Dispenser because for some reason they decided to put it here, and it's a bit higher, but no worries. Nothing that using fire can't help us with. Except when it goes nutso. That's not helpful at all. Anyway, Eddie gave me one weapon refill. I should have probably used it with the Silver Tomahawk, but we're coming up to the final fight right here, and this is a 3-phase fight. All of which are pretty much weak to Silver Tomahawk, but if I run out of ammo, I could use the Night Crusher as a backup. And it's pretty versatile in that way too, because the final phase is the Wily capsule phase. Also, this is definitely my favorite of the classic Mega Man final boss fight themes. It's a banger, so sour please. Alright, that's phase 2. So now for the final phase, here we go. Let's see how it all ends up. Oh, that's 2 hits. Good, good. 2 more hits. Yes. 2 more. Yes, sir. And 1 last to go. Time. Oh, I felt my arm crack after that one. Let's heckin' go. And that, my friends, is Mega Man 6 any %, and that will do it for the InstaSpeedathon at Game Together 2021 marathon. Thank you so much for having me. We end the game off by finally doing something that we should have way long ago with the other games, and Dr. Wily is finally arrested, ruling over a prison cell, at least until Mega Man 7. But, hey, it's totally a step up, and for what it's worth, it definitely gives one less annoyance to those who figured this was what we should have done way before. But no sweat. Until Mega Man 7, the world is now at peace, and thus we have saved the day once again as the Blue Bomber, Rock, aka Mega Man. Because don't forget, his real name is Rock. We just like to call him Mega. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, Insta. It was great to do another run, especially to close out this marathon here. I'm glad I was able to make it work. And for once, it was a run that I actually get to put stock to my name, TempestMask1000. How about that? Of course, the reason I did this was because I am operating from a different location this time, and indoor rules do require masks, so it was a necessity, but I was more than happy to do it anyway. So just a reminder for y'all to stay safe out there, because while we're not exactly out of the woods yet with what's been going on in the world, we certainly have been making progress, and we need to keep making progress in order for us to get back to normal. Until then, fight on, rock on. If you want to follow me, my name is TempestMask1000. I do have a Twitter at SteveVortexVA for reasons. At one point, though, I will make a more dedicated Twitter account for speedrunning stuff, but I do try to post whenever I go live on said Twitter, so if you want to follow me there, go right ahead. Otherwise, if you just want to say hi whenever I'm live, that's perfectly something that I appreciate. I'm not always live, I don't have a static streaming schedule, but I do like to speedrun games like this. And if you too are interested in the prospect of speedrunning Mega Man, then I would like to direct you to the Man Rta Leaderboards website, where you can find a page that has all the different community Discord links. I do believe there's also a Man Rta Leaderboards Reddit in case you happen to be on there too. But other than that, shout out to the classic community and everybody running. We've had a Mega Man 6 any% tournament that Speed Games hosted. It was pretty good. I had a part in that too myself. I'm not sure if it's still going, but shout out to them if it is, regardless. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for me. So with that said, Insta, I'm going to throw it back to you. But again, thank you so much for having me. And everyone, I hope you have a great day, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is TempestMask1000 signing out. Ciao, amici.
Thank you very much for the run. Just before we end there, we do have one other donation that's come in just at the end there. £7.13 from Hypo. Round numbers look fake. So we're now on a grand total at the moment of £207.13. For your run, you got a 52.12.12. DVD in the chat said someone should change the estimate just so that it looks like it was sub-estimate.
Oh,
So
don't worry about it.
Just for fun, we'll put the estimate as 55 minutes, just for
Oh,
make it
you
look
don't have
like
to.
it was below estimate. There we go. It's now below estimate.
Ah,
But yeah.
you're too
but
kind.
Thank you so much for the run to close out InstaSpeedathon Game Together 2021. But please, everyone, stick around for just a few more minutes at the end here, because we do have a small announcement just to say about what's going on next with InstaSpeedathon. So stick around for that announcement. And thank you very much, TempestMask, for your run. Thank you to everybody who's taken part, and I'll see you all in just a moment.